and the military is now snatching and grabbing, just pulling up, and randomly it appears grabbing peaceful protesters off the streets, but the police and the military are laughing, and it looks completely staged. But just setting that precedent of snatch and grab. So they pull up in a van or a car, grab you by your shoulders, and drag you screaming into the vehicle. It is unspeakably evil. And they're setting these beta test precedents, just like they did in '99 with Seattle, saying no free speech allowed in the city after they had 50 hired anarchists stage attacks on police, and that was all declassified. Run by the Delta Force, the FBI, and the Secret Service. The G20 admits, and Pittsburgh admits, that the Secret Service and Army are running this operation. Look at my reporters. Defense Link puts out a press release, says that media can come talk to them where they're massing at the National Guard Armory. They pull up the front gate, say, hi, we're from InfoWars, we're from and they said, well, what's that on TV? Well, we're on Channel 10 in Austin and the radio. And they told him that. And they laughed at him, came back, said, we want to talk to your boss. Then they got me on the phone. Then they laughed at us and said, get out of here. Maybe come back tomorrow. Then they call the police and say, people are at our perimeter sneaking around. They ran from us. We got their plate number. The police call us up on the cell phone they got from the rent car company posing as an Alamo rental car person and say, we know you're a terrorist and you're never going to get off the terrorist watch list in your life. Laughing about it. This is the new secret police America. 9-year-olds being hit with sound cannons by police in black uniforms and the Army. Here's CNN crowing, but at the same time whitewashing, like, oh, for a day. No, he's not head of the United Nations for a day. And if you study the UN power structure, the Secretary General is the head of the General Assembly. But of the 180-plus nations in it, only 15 have voting power. The real government, it's not the shadow government, but it is, you don't really hear about it in the media much. But you notice one veto of one Security Council member can override the entire General Assembly. It's the real power. And Barack Obama is now the president of the UN. He's now the chairman of the UN Security Council. Here is CNN celebrating.
Barack Obama caused some usually dull diplomats to come to life in the historic United Nations Security Council. Obama's UN debut created a stir even in a room packed with heads of state and government. And for a couple of hours, you could say Mr. Obama was president of the world. Flanked by Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and UN Ambassador Susan Rice, Mr. Obama used the United States one-month council presidency to drive approval of a resolution aimed at putting more teeth into curbing the spread of nuclear weapons. Prior to now, there have been only 4 such Security Council summits.
I called for this one so that we may address at the highest level a fundamental threat to the security of all peoples and all nations: the spread and use of nuclear weapons.
The resolution calls for tighter controls on nuclear materials to prevent military usage or theft. The U.S. wants the resolution to provide momentum for action on nukes.
Okay, let's stop right there. How did they sell the League of Nations after the Rothschilds and Rockefellers and others, British intelligence on record, staged the assassination of the Archduke to start World War I? They said, we have to have this to end war. Then they got their League of Nations. Then they staged World War II, telling Hitler to go ahead and invade. That's now been declassified. Then setting him up. Not saying he's good, it's just the fact they set him up. That's why the Deputy Fuhrer, Rudolf Hess, flew into England with the treaty, saying, look, we signed a secret treaty. The King of England had to advocate. He'd been a Nazi. But now they've always pushed the UN. Oh, we got to have a world government, global governance, to stop a nuclear war while the globalists give nukes out to everybody. They gave it to Russia. They gave it to China on record. They gave it to Pakistan. They gave it to South Africa. They gave it to Israel. And now, we got to have a world government to stop nukes spreading. So that's just the front. But the real power they want is financial. Now, here is Obama. This is directly from the UN, gaveling in the Security Council as the president of the world. Here it is. That's the UN intro.
The 6,191st meeting of the Security Council is called to order. The provisional agenda for this meeting is before the Council in document S/agenda/6191, which reads, quote, maintenance of international peace and security, nuclear proliferation, and nuclear disarmament. Unless I hear any objection, I shall consider the agenda adopted. Agenda is adopted. I wish to warmly welcome the distinguished heads of state and government, the Secretary General, the Director General of the IAEA, ministers, and other distinguished representatives present in the Security Council chamber. Your presence is an affirmation of the importance of the subject matter to be discussed. The Security Council summit will now begin its consideration of item 2 of the agenda.
All right. You can go watch hours of it online at the UN if you want. That's directly from the United Nations, what we just played. Now, he is the president of the world. And that's how this sick system works with the 15 members. They each get to be president of the world, and that's how they consider themselves. That's what they are openly announced as. And coming up in 15 months again, he will be the president of the world one more time. And in all the Financial Times of London headlines and a whole bunch of others, they say that this is cementing world government, that Obama is bringing the U.S. into world government, that he is relinquishing U.S. control over the world government. Because it's well known the U.S. runs the world government right now. And it was the Pentagon in 1946 that created the United Nations at the Presidio Naval Base in San Francisco. The Rockefellers put the money up for it there, to lease the base, and in New York. And so, this is a horrible day for our nation. Our military, our government, our traders, they've totally sold us out, and they're going to steal everything that's even nailed down. You got that?
I was a highwayman. Along the coach roads I did ride.
We're going under UN law.
With sword and pistol by
They are going to incrementally take all of your children from you. They're going to home inspect you every month for environmental and social issues. They're going to inspect your garage sales, give you $15 million fines, $100,000 fines first infraction, $15 million fines second infraction. They're going to have warrantless checkpoints taking your blood. They're going to continue to take your blood at birth under a UN program, 36 years old, put in a UN bioweapons registry for race-specific bioweapons. They're going to set up world government. They're going to carry out forced population reduction. They're going to put more poison in the water and food, more GMO, and they're going to just watch everybody die, everybody become mentally retarded, everybody literally just falling dead around you incrementally, testing it, gauging it, until it's just completely normal that everybody has cancer, everybody's dying, and the globalists are just laughing and giggling and snickering about it. Yeah, that sounds like a nightmare. Well, it is. Hitler was a nightmare. Stalin was a nightmare. Mao was a nightmare. They were all funded by these people. Pol Pot, all of them. We have the government documents. We have the proof. It isn't just a world government that's going to tax you and run your life with Tobin taxes and money transfer taxes and carbon taxes. World government is only the tool, as John P. Holdren, White House science czar, says. The planetary regime is the tool to kill you. And the reason they may succeed is because it's so bold, it's so off the charts, it's so outrageous, it's so criminal, it's so corrupt, that they would openly in the last year steal over $50 trillion worldwide, $23.7 trillion. And again, that's a 2-month-old number. It'll be 28 trill following the trend, next 28 trill plus. I always underestimate what it's going to be next time they announce it every 2 months. We're due to hear. It's 23.7 trillion almost 2 months ago. We're due to hear the new number. And I cringe. And they just are openly stealing every treasury blind, openly deploying police and military on the streets everywhere, openly coming in with tyranny. Now, if we speak out and point out that it's just a group of private bankers doing this, we can start reversing it. That's why one of our biggest hopes is Ron Paul's resolution to audit these people, because we're starting the process and beginning to really draw blood in the fight. Really beginning to land some strong punches on the enemy that people are now going, wait, banks run the country, private banks control the government all over the world. People are finding out as the End the Fed movement goes global. And they're starting to get scared. That's why they're accelerating their program right now. They were trying incremental, but they were starting to fail. They realized they're now behind the 8 ball. This is red level emergency. This is real. Gut up and get educated about this stuff. I know that you want to rationalize and tell yourself this isn't true because it's scary. But listen, it is real. We've proven it's real in Endgame and Terror Storm and the Obama deception, and all the mainstream news is now confirming everything we told you. But they put their own sick spin on it. And support us. That's why the establishment with the mainstream media and alternative media attacks Ron Paul, attacks me, attacks anybody that they know is effectively countering them, to try to get everybody fighting with each other, with divide and conquer, instead of identifying the New World Order. Ron Paul isn't the one raising your taxes. Ron Paul isn't the one bringing in a world carbon tax. Ron Paul isn't the one taking over our economy. Alex Jones. Now, that's me. I'm not the one that runs your life. I'm not the one that's putting cancer viruses in the vaccines and trying to make you take them.